she's gonna cut my toenail off. Like, she is gonna cut my toenail off. Who wants to talk about my toenail falling off and what has happened? So I have alluded to this in a couple of past videos, and I've shared with you that my toenail is basically falling off. And we speak about skin on this channel all the time because it is my passion, it is my love, it is my obsession. And it's also very emotionally triggering for me when I have little breakouts. But the skin is part of the integumentary system, which also includes the hair, which I'm not an expert in styling or doing anything with. I try to make it look as good as I can, but also nails. And that includes toenails. And I feel like nails often get left out of the conversation in dermatology and in skincare. They might not be as fascinating as skin to some people, but they really are fascinating, and I don't even understand them as well as I'd like to. But something recently happened to my toenails that I think is interesting enough to discuss based on what happened and what I uncovered. Essentially, I was doing my laundry one night, trying to clean my clothes. I look down and my toenail is being split open by my cuticle. Let's back up, let's do some anatomy. This is a diagram of a toe, specifically a toenail, and let's break down the different components. A lot of people don't realize how deep that nail actually goes. It's actually created in something called the matrix. That's where these new nail cells form. That's actually under this actual skin on your toenails or on your fingers. Now, there is also something called the eponychium, this little basically cuticle, and that's kind of where we see the nail growing. And lo and behold, when I looked down, I saw this line of where my cuticle, this eponychium, was, and then my nail was split in half. I have never had this happen before. There was a little bit of red on my toe. It wasn't blood, like that was just nail polish, and I had just never seen anything like this. And hi, yes, I have hairy toenails. Hi, welcome to being a Cassandra. It's one of the perks of the biology over here. But essentially, I was quite confused because I've seen ingrown toenails where like ingrowns happen like on the side. I've seen split toenails where they split down the middle. I've seen ridged nails where you kind of have these normal ridges and divots. Some things like Bow's lines are abnormal. Those could be a cause for concern depending on what the underlying cause is, where you actually kind of have these waves in the nails. And there can be things such as like black stripes that could be melanoma or basically cancer of the nail. But it didn't match any of these things, and I've never seen one of these before. Like, what the f is this, right? So I texted to Lily. I'm like, Lily, what the f is going on with my nail? She's like, I have no idea. I've never seen that before. And I was like, look, it looks like the cuticle is cutting into the nail. And I was like, what on earth would cause this? I had this pedicure recently, but it doesn't look infected. And I was thinking to myself, because I've seen nail damage before. If you stub your toe, if you drop something on your nail or something, it can cause blackness, it can cause bruising, it can cause the nail to fall off or to split. But I was thinking to myself, Cassandra, did you drop something heavy on your toe? Like, yes, you're a klutz and you run into walls sometimes and you have random bruises, which could also be from epileptic seizures, but that's besides the point. But did I drop anything on my toe? No. And what's so weird is like when you're running, if you have like a runner's toe, it's normally black or bruised and the toenail just falls off. This toenail isn't falling off. It's not dead. It's just split down the middle. Like, what on earth would cause this? Like, am I losing my toenails? My vitamin D level has been low, and we believe it's because of the absorption from my kidney. Like, we looked at my zinc levels. It's not like super low, but a little bit. Maybe that has to do with the hair loss. So you remember, hair, skin, nails, all part of the integumentary system. If you haven't seen that video where I address my hair loss, right there. It's right there, actually. It's a good one. It's an emotional one, but we're not afraid of intimacy on this channel, except for maybe we are. I don't know. I overshare. Oops. But point in case being, nobody knew what was going on. I wasn't wearing high heels, wasn't running marathons, didn't drop something on my toe. What's a girl to do? So you know what I did? I took a picture. I subscribed to K-Health, basically this online doctor thing, and it tries to help you through your symptoms, and if you need like a prescription refill or something, it's really easy. I pay 12 bucks a month for it. I do that, and I do not pay for Netflix. I get on my K-Health, it's like midnight, and I'm like, Zakasa, what's going on? It takes me a little while to connect to the doctor, but I think he was like an ER physician, right? And I was like, hey, my nail, what's going on? And he's like, yeah, this is like this infected nail. Like, this looks like an infection. I'm gonna prescribe you an antibiotic. And I was like, doctor, no, it's not actually infected. Like, I'm sure of it. Like, I was pushing back the cuticle. He's like, yeah, I got nothing. And I was like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah, you should probably have it checked out in person. I was like, so fine, okay. Basically, get a referral from the derms that I work with to go to a podiatrist. So I scheduled this thing with the podiatrist, who is a foot doctor. And I must say, I've never been to like a podiatrist as a patient before. Like, I've never had the need. Is a podiatrist that I follow on Instagram, Dr. Tar, who should absolutely follow. She is amazing. And I love some awesome podiatrists. I just have never seen one as a patient. So time to put on my big girl panties and go to the podiatrist, which was really exciting. And at first I was like, feet. I've always been bullied for my feet. I know that some people have fetishes. We're not going to talk about the weaky feet here. Whoever started that, why? Anyways, we're not going to shame or talk about or validate people's kinks today. What we are going to say is that feet are weird, and my feet are especially weird. I have bunions, and bunions are basically these growths of bone, you know, on one side of the foot, and then I also have these bone spurs, basically these knots on the top of my feet and on the sides. I have a very bony, very large foot. It's like size 10, size 11. I often can't wear certain shoes because if you imagine, this is how a foot goes into a shoe and it fits tightly. Imagine if you have a bump like this, that's your foot. You're not gonna fit into a flat shoe very well. And that's always been my problem. So anyways, essentially, I go to this podiatrist, I'm like nervous, and I know that physicians and doctors, like they don't judge, but I was still just like, oh, here's my feet. I was like taking pictures of my toes in the office. And as I'm waiting for this podiatrist, I'm like, she's gonna cut my toenail off. Like, she is going to cut my toenail off. I have seen and assisted with ingrown toenails being removed and taken out, and toenails just being straight up, you know, removed and taken off. You know, you inject the site, you do a little trim, you do a little cut, and you hope that the nail grows back appropriately, especially if there's ingrown, if there's a split. And I thought to myself, she's just going to numb me up and rip my toenail off. And that is fully what I was expecting to happen. This lady walks in. She is one of the nicest, funniest, most gregarious people in the world. And I was like, hey, I got a lot of stuff going on here. And she's like, well, as long as it's about feet, I love feet, so I'm gonna talk about them with you. I was like, oh, you're my type. You got a little chaos energy too. She was fantastic. She was great. She answered all my questions, including some questions about exactly where my bone spur was and exactly what bones were pressing to cause that. Anyways, she was excellent. And when it came to my toenail, I was like, what the f is this? What the f is this? She asked me one question and she's like, have you gone on any long hikes recently? And I was like, well, I don't run marathons, you know, like the attending suggested or questioned. But now that you mention it, about 3 months ago, I almost killed my family members. Let me explain. I love my cousin. My cousin Carlisle is like my best friend, and we can go 9 months without talking, and she is someone who gets me, she inspires me, she motivates me, and I hope I do the same for her. I also love my dearly beloved Mother Goose and my auntie, and we all love nature. We love to go on hikes. Carly is like a Cirque du Soleil, you know, rock climbing, acrobatic, marathon running queen. My aunt is the kind of person who's like, I'm just gonna sip some wine on this here patio, but I like to go for a walk in the woods, like to explore nature. My mom is an ox. She's like, I'm gonna go hike for 10 hours, right? Like my mom is the crazy, like you can see where I get the tenacity, the resilience, and the chaos energy. She is like an ox. She's like an engine. She just doesn't stop. She's not like a speed demon. Like she's not chaos energy. She's an ox. So we decided that we're all gonna go on a hike together and it's going to be wonderful. And we decided to go up into the Santa Cruz Mountains. If you guys know the Forest of Nicene Marks, however you pronounce that, one of the most beautiful hiking areas ever. And for those who know the San Francisco Bay Area, you may also know that this park is where the epicenter of the Loma Prieta earthquake was. There was an earthquake in the 1980s that killed many people. It was terrifying, it was tragic, and it basically caused one of the main bridges in the Bay Area to collapse and to crush people. It was all over the news, it was terrifying. There was like a string of earthquakes around those times, but the Loma Prieta was one of the deadliest, one of the most major. There happens to be the epicenter that is on one of the hidden trails inside of this Forest of Nicene Marks. And that hike is probably, what, 3 or 4, maybe 5 miles? I don't know if it's one way or round trip. It's probably 5 miles round trip, and it's not extremely excruciating. It's definitely a hike, but it's not bad. Well, we got there, we took some beautiful photos, and my mom and I know of this chaos trail that goes beyond it. And I was like, Carly, my cousin, I was like, we have to go on the next trail. We have to go. You're gonna love it. And so we didn't wait for our parental units. We just kind of hopped the fence and we kept on going. And my mom, she was okay with this. She knew this trail. My mom has been on this trail with me and it has been chaos and she loved every second of it. And my auntie was like, where are we going? What's going on? I'm gonna have some fun getting my 10,000 steps in. My poor aunt We almost killed her. We get to the first debacle where, you know, the trail has slid out. You have to literally hold onto a tree and someone put a rope up so you can get to the next section of the trail. Then you have to walk through poison oak. And once you get through this little bundle of poison oak, it opens up and there's just all of this light and all of this brown. Basically, we're on the side of a cliff right now. You're probably 1,000 feet up from that river where we used to be walking next to the river, and then you climb up and up and up. If you fall, you fall. But you basically have to slide your way down this gigantic, basically dusty ass hillside that has no grips, and you have to make your way over to the other side. We're waiting at the bottom because we don't want to lose our parents, and we just hear my aunt come to the corner, like the end of it, and just be like, hell no! Hell no! No! And then my mom is up there. My mom is on our side, you know, kind of an ox. She doesn't give up. And mom's like, it'll be fine. Come on, I'll help you down. Oh my God, my poor aunt. So first off, she's already nervous, right? She's coming down here. My cousin and I understand that they are on their way. So we kind of go down the river. You know, we're hopping over rocks. We're having a good time. We found some little caterpillars. We're like, ah, look at the cute little gecko, right? We're looking at the nature. So we get to the top and I looked down. I was like, where's this telephone pole that we were supposed to climb? I remembered this gigantic telephone pole that basically someone just nailed wood pieces into, kind of like a ladder. And when my mom and I first did this hike a year and a half ago, we had to climb up this and like 2 of them broke while we were climbing. Like it wouldn't hold our body weight. So we're sitting at this top, basically where this original kind of bridge was before the landslide came in and took the whole thing off the hill. We're just kind of perked here, like waiting for our parents, and we hear my aunt, again, at the bottom, scream. She's like, no, I cannot get up this. Carly, how dare you do that? It's always Carly's fault. And Carly's like, no, it's great. My mom's like, you can do it. We can do it. And then they started to get up and they're like, oh my God, we can't do it. And Carly looks at me and she's like, dude, we're gonna break our mom's hips. I'm like, what? No, come on, they can do it. They can do it. They drink almond milk. They got calcium. Come on. It took 35 minutes of heaving and hoeing and convincing. Then it took an hour to kind of climb up the hill. But you know what we did? We got up the hill. It was all thanks to my cousin, and my aunt is a badass. Like I will say, she is one of the most beautiful, intelligent, and badass women that there are. She's cautious. She's the sane part of this group. And we finally got up there. And oh God, my poor aunt, she looks at me with like eyes to kill. And her beautiful shirt and like her wonderful, she always looks so good, just covered in dirt. She's like, I am going to murder you. And I was like, only when I'm sleeping, my dear. Took a breather. We shared what water we have left and we decided to continue. Now, mind you, I am the one who knows that this is a 20-mile, like 16-mile hike. My mother knows this. My cousin does not. My aunt does not. They think that we're going like 4 miles, okay? So we're like, we made it. Let's go to the waterfall. And they're like, oh good, I'm so excited to see the waterfall. I'm getting kind of tired. Well, we aren't even 40% of the, we're not even 30% of the way there yet. Well, what ensues is, I kid you not, a beautiful nightmare. It is miles of back and forth and back and forth. We are going and going and going, and my mom and my aunt start to peter out. My cousin and I are kind of up ahead. We're like, we got this, we got this. We're talking about our plans. She's telling me about her marathons. I'm telling her about, you know, work and other stuff in life. We're going. We start to lose track of where the other parentals are. And I'm like, Carly, if we don't get through this, we're gonna be stuck in here at night. She's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, it's gonna get dark. And she's like, but it's gonna get dark in another 4 hours. And I was like, I know, but I don't think we're gonna be out in 4 hours. And my cousin's like, So what we do, instead of waiting for the parental units, we basically take sticks, and whenever there was a fork in the trail, we put the sticks and we put the arrow this way, and we put X's on the trails that we didn't go on. And we finally got to this final junction of where this waterfall is. And she and I are kind of walking through, and I swear to God, the last half mile is the most beautiful. You think that Bambi is going to come frolicking through the trees. Snow White basically lives here with her, I don't know, what are they, elves? What does Snow White have? Munchkins? What are they? Snow White dwarves. That's the word, the dwarves, right? It is like a woodland paradise. And you can literally see the butterflies flying. You can literally see the clover carpeting. You could almost hear the sunlight filtering through the trees, like nature playing a harp for you. One of the most beautiful places that I've ever seen in California or on Earth. We get to this 5-finger falls and the water is just cascading in 5 different fingers into this little crevice. And you kind of stand on the edge edge where, again, this old railway was. There was some old iron. My cousin and I sat down, we put our feet in the water, and we were like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Can't wait for our parental units to get here. And we keep waiting for them to get there. And our feet are starting to get cold. The sun was like at this angle and it went slightly down, and all of a sudden this entire valley crevice starts to get chilly. We're like, holy shit, did they get lost? Are they not coming? It's been 38 minutes. They weren't that far behind. What is going on? And so my cousin and I start to sit there and think, oh my God, did we kill them? Are they lost? Are they gone? Like, do we just wait here? We put all of these signs up. We're starting to get worried. Mind you, there is no cell phone service out here. There is no cell phone service anywhere, and my toes are in the water getting wet. So we decide this is probably not good. We can see where the sun is about to go down. You know, it's kind of nearing that hour where we got to start booking it back. What the f are we going to do? Lo and behold, we hear this crunch, crunch. My mother comes around the corner. She's like, oh, there you are. I was like, yes, where are you? Where's Auntie? What's going on? Auntie is livid, and Auntie is not here. My mom just looks at us and she's like, Auntie is not having a good time. I was like, oh shit, what did I do? Like, this is my doing. This is my fault. We told them we were going on a hike. We ended up on an excursion, a marathon triathlon excursion. Anyways, Auntie was sitting down way back somewhere, and my mom separated from her because my mom had to find us because there's no service. She's like, we gotta get back. It's getting dark. I was like, oh my God, okay, let's go, let's go. So we start running down the trail, all three of us, right? We're trying to get back. And mind you, we are, you know, 8 miles from the area that we parked. This is gonna be a nightmare. We're running through these things. My mom's about to twist her ankle. My mom has a predisposition to twisting her ankle. And my feet are dry-ish, but I kind of hear them sloshing a little bit just in my socks. You know how it's not wet, but it's kind of damp? Foreshadowing, this matters. Anyways, we find the aunt. She is livid. She's like, you told me this would be a hike. I was not expecting to have to do a triathlon. I was like, well, even though you stepped in the water, you weren't technically swimming, and we haven't been on a bike. So, I'm such a bitch. I was like, but aren't we having fun? And everyone's just like, and my cousin's like, yeah. My mom's like, hey. And my aunt's like, so anyways, we are booking it on this trail. My cousin and I are basically jogging at this point. We're trying to get ahead. We didn't want to leave them behind, so we'd go, caca, caca. That's my call to my mother. I go, caca, and that's how I call my mom. So every like 15 minutes or so, I'd stop with my cousin and be like, Carly, shh, caca, caca. And I'd wait for my mom to respond. So we knew that they were like there. The sun is going down. It's getting cold. Mosquitoes are starting to come out. We are freezing, but my cousin and I finally get to where this little deer trail meets this main trail. And we sit down, and my cousin's like rubbing her legs, and I'm like rubbing my ankles like, oh my God, this is so tiring. And mind you, I have some nice shoes, but I was sitting there, I took them off, I kind of massaged my feet, and we're waiting there for our parental units. By this point, it is black, like it is dark. We are being eaten by mosquitoes. We are talking about life. We're like, girl, I cannot wait to go back and go get in the hot tub. Like, this is some adventure we're going on. We run ahead to the car. We get in the car. Dear Lord, this biker, he's like exiting the trail, and he's like, are you guys okay? Like, you shouldn't be out here hiking like this alone. We're like, no, we get into the car right here. But we did lose our parents. He's like, do you want me to go look for them? I feel like I saw 2 women over there. We're like, yes, please. It's thanks to this biker and the little headlight on his bike that we reunite. But anyways, we get in the car. Everyone's pissed because what we thought was going to be a 2-hour hike turned into an 18-mile, multiple-hour excursion. And was it the hike of our lives? Oh yes, it was. But it wasn't until I was sitting in this podiatrist's office that I realized, yes, I went on a hike about 3 months ago, and you know what? That probably f***ed up my foot. And that is when she explained to me, yes, that little hitting of basically my toenail hitting the top of the inside of my shoe can start to cause this repetitive injury to, again, this matrix, this area of the nail where the nail actually grows. And for some people who do run marathons, or for people who have like runner's foot, it usually bruises and then it usually falls off. But because I wasn't running and because my shoes fit right, it was just my toenail wasn't trimmed enough, and it was just kind of hitting. It just kind of tap, 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 and it was this repetitive tapping on this little nail that was basically causing a little vibration right down here in the matrix, and that ended up damaging the cells that create new nails. And lo and behold, 3 months later, not dropping anything on my toe, etc., caused this issue. So I was like, oh my God, we figured it out. We figured out the mystery of what happened. But is it ever going to go back? Like, what do I do? And she looks at me and she's like, could grow back funky. It could grow back half and it might not. And basically when looking like at the nail, it was basically weaker than the original nail. And she even pushed it back a little bit more with a gloved hand. And she was like, do you see right here? This is where that split happened and it's more on this side than it is on this side. I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that wearing the right shoes, doing everything right, having a slightly damp toe could have moistened up the skin, could have made it a little bit more flexible. You know how your hair is more prone to breakage when you're in the shower? Basically this perfect environment for my nail to be prone to damage. And all of my little make more nail cells were basically damaged. And we were not sure if my toenail was ever going to grow back. And I asked her, are you gonna cut my toenail off? And she was like, listen, I can. But I say, why do it if we don't have to? Why don't we let it grow out, let it fall off on its own, see what happens, see if it grows back. You might not have a nail, but at least you don't have an infection. I was like, yeah, that's a good one. So I said goodbye to her. I'm like, I hope I get to see you again. Like, she was fantastic. Like, I might just go in for bunion surgery just so that I can have her do my bunion surgery. Like, she's great. Anyways, I get home and I am looking at my nail closer than I ever have. I keep an eye on it. I keep taking pictures, and you know me, I'm a picker. I like to get my hands in things, and I start just kind of picking at it and it starts to lift off, and I'm like, ooh, I'm not gonna pick at it, but I kind of want to pick at it. Well, hi, you're here. You know me. I had to pick it, and then I had to keep it. Is it fucking weird that I keep this? Absolutely. But do I do it? Absolutely. Was I the person that got angry that my mother's herniated disc was thrown away instead of kept? Absolutely. The surgeon was also mad. He's like, do you want to keep it? And my mom was like, no. I was like, why would you say no to that? Anyways, if you work in emergency medicine or in dermatology or anything like that, you're basically the weird goth kid who liked gore and horror films, and you just grew up. So, don't judge me. This is a specimen, okay? It's just a nail. It's just a nail. Anyways, it is absolutely beautiful, and it's actually growing back in a semi-healthy manner. I cannot wait to see what happens with my toe, but I am finally opening up about the story. And you see, I'm hygienic. I sanitize. What this means for you is always go see a podiatrist or a dermatologist or a doctor if you're having foot issues. You want to make sure that there's not cancer, that you didn't destroy your nail or something. And it even goes to show that common conditions such as like a runner's toe can happen in untraditional ways. Something that looks like acne might not be acne. It could be a rosacea pimple, right? Or it could be an infection. It could be MRSA. A lot of things can actually look alike and then be very different. What this means for me was that I learned something completely new about my toe. I thought it was gonna fall off, but it is growing back somewhat normally. And I don't know if the toenail is ever going to be as strong as the other one or as it once was, but I'm interested to find out. And what this also means is that if you're about to go on a long excursion, make sure that your shoes are the right size, which mine were, but make sure your toenails are trimmed, because it doesn't take a big old rock or bam, hammer to fall on your toe to damage it. Sometimes it is these little repetitive things that can cause big or little changes over time. And that's kind of a beautiful metaphor for life. Sometimes it's not a new car crash or the new purchase of a home or something that bam, smacks us in the face, like a relationship or something like that that changes our lives. Sometimes it's the little repetitive things that we do every day, like being grateful for something when we wake up in the morning, or telling someone that we love them, or giving them a hug on our way out the door, or going for a walk and kind of taking a breath and relaxing in the middle of the day. It's those little tiny things that can add up to really big results. And that's both for our toes and for life as a whole. So if you didn't know that a toenail could teach you a life lesson, well, we have just been edumunicated. Learn me a book. Thanks for letting me finally reveal this story. Thanks for not judging me for holding specimens. Subscribe if you want to hear more about my hair loss and about, you know, what that's like. I love you guys, and I'll see you in this next video. Oh, speaking of nails, whoa, man down. Love you guys. Bye.